What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Home Bar Pro. My name is Jordan Steffen, and today we are going to make a one-off eggnog. So a lot of recipes you see on the internet will be for a large punch bowl, a blender full, something for a large group of people, you know, around the holidays when you have a bunch of people over, except maybe this year you won't be, so maybe you'll want a small batch of eggnog, something for you and another significant other or something like that. So I'm going to show you how to make a one-off batch of eggnog. And you can make eggnogs many different ways, but it's essentially a custard base, so cream, egg, sugar, and then you add booze to it. Today I'm going to be adding bourbon. This is Elijah Craig. It's a nice classic style bourbon. And then to sweeten it, I'm going to be using a turbinado simple syrup. This is just 1 part turbinado sugar to 1 part water. I think the molasses from the turbinado will go nice with those sort of holiday flavors. I'm going to be using Heavy Creame in this eggnog, and then of course wouldn't be eggnog if it wasn't for an egg. And whole egg today. A lot of cocktails call for egg white. This will be a whole egg. Something that is a really key ingredient in eggnog, makes it taste like eggnog in the holidays, is freshly grated nutmeg. I would not recommend getting the pre-ground stuff. Get yourself a whole nutmeg and grate it yourself. It's going to make all the difference in the festive nature of this cocktail. To make this drink, you will need a shaker. I'm using a 2-part shaking tin system. You can use a mason jar with a lid. You're also going to need something to measure with, a jigger. This is like the measuring cup style one from OXO. That one works well. You're going to need a strainer, Hawthorne strainer, a glass. I'm going to serve it up in a coupe glass, not on ice. Traditionally, eggnogs are kind of like ladled out into punch cups, right? So I'm going to use the coupe glass, and then of course you'll need ice. All right, and this is not necessary, but helps aerating the egg whites. Is a this is actually, you know, like a blender bottle for protein shakes. This is the blender ball that goes in there. You could also just take the spring off of a Hawthorne strainer like this. Does the same thing. I have the blender ball, so I'm gonna use it to begin. And I don't know if this step is absolutely necessary, but I like the idea of like a fluffy eggnog. So we're going to start by whipping the egg whites separate from everything else. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and separate the yolk from the white like that. And then I'm going to reserve the yolk over here in my jigger. And then I'm going to add the wire, either from your Hawthorne strainer or a blender bottle protein shake wire whisk like that. Give these a really good seal because it's going to want to have the tendency to push apart, but go ahead and shake that. This is just whipping the egg white. Traditionally, you might do this in a bowl with a whisk. A more modern approach for a large batch would be to use a blender. You could even use one of those like milk frother things that you use for making coffee at home. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a nice sort of frothy, foamy, rocky foam type consistency there. So to that, I'm going to add a 1/2 ounce of our simple syrup. I'm going to measure out 1 ounce of my Heavy Creame. Add that egg yolk, little nutmeg. The last ingredient is 2 ounces of bourbon. You could use a split base on this. You know, I've made it before with a triple threat of bourbon, cognac, rum. You could just do brandy and rum. Sherry is very traditional. Play with it. Make it how you like it. Tequila eggnog, There's an idea as well. Everything's in the tin. I'm gonna leave that blender ball in there. I'm gonna give it one more good shake here. All right. Once that's all shaken up nicely, I'm gonna add a few ice cubes. So I'm gonna use big cube and a small cube to help with the texture. Go ahead and give that its final shake. And now, I'm simply going to strain it into the coupe glass. Really nice texture on that. Need that nutmeg on top so you get that nice hit of spice when you bring it up to your lips to take a sip. To be clear, the hit of spice is through your nose. Alright, and there is the bourbon boozy eggnog one-off recipe. Let's give this a taste. I am instantly transported to the holidays, which are just around the corner. It's like drinking melted ice cream mixed with bourbon. It's delicious. I don't know what else to say about it. Smell that nice nutmeg. The bourbon does thin it out a lot, and maybe, you know, for your taste, you might make it a little less boozy, a little less bourbon, a little bit more cream or milk or something like that to thin it out instead. You know, your commercial store-bought varieties are usually pretty thick. This is much thinner compared to that, but I think it's mostly due to the bourbon. As far as all the multiple shaking steps to try to froth up the egg white, I don't know if that's absolutely necessary. You know, in a traditional eggnog, you'd whip the egg whites first with some sugar, make like a meringue, and then make the rest of the drink, and then fold in, so you get these sort of like icebergs of meringue floating in the eggnog. Since we're combining everything in the tin and shaking it anyway, I don't know if it's necessary to like shake it with the whisk and all that ahead of time, but I did it anyway. And you can too. Or you can try it without it. Just add everything. Don't even worry about a dry shake. Just add everything to the tin. It's going to be like 98% the same. So, there you have it. Bourbon eggnog. Cheers.
Yeah.